There you are. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Am I in the screen? Yeah, I'm in the screen. I kind of have to duck.
You are? No, you're fine. Well, you just can't sit up like that, yeah.
Right. Hey, I like your cup. Look at my friend got me this.
No one. Is that Game of Thrones?
Yeah, it is.
That's very cool. Have you watched it? Have you watched the last season?
You know what? I've never watched a Game of Thrones episode.
That's it. Okay, I'm gonna have to end the chat now.
I'm sorry. No, don't hit me.
It was really nice knowing you. Thanks for everything. Do you know what I mean? But you've never watched an episode. Is that...
The main reason is because I don't have HBO, but in the opportunities that I've been with friends and stuff, like, you know, it was such a huge hype that I felt like I needed to be part of it, right? Like after a while I was like, okay, this is just out of control. I have to check this out. So we tried the first episode and like 30 minutes in or so, like fast asleep, you know? And my friend was you gotta get through the first 2 or 3 episodes and then you're hooked, you know? So I haven't done it. I've gone, you know, through the pains of people, you know, with all the stuff that's happened, and apparently the last episode was just horrible and blah blah blah. But
yeah, it's a bit of investment to really, I suppose, if you're starting from scratch, it's nearly best just to leave it for a while and go back. I mean, it is wonderful TV. Yeah, I mean, the hype was unreal. I mean,
it was crazy.
Yeah, there's parties for it, like.
Yeah, you know who Jason Momoa is?
No.
You don't know who Jason Momoa is? Okay, well, no. Most recently he's Aquaman.
Okay, well that's why I don't know him by name. I'm not female. Well, sorry, guy, come on.
I don't think it has anything to do with gender with that guy.
You think anybody give him a go? Is that what you think? Yes. I know who you're talking about now. Yeah, he's big. Not for me now necessarily, no, but I can see.
He's a really cool dude. Like he's doing all kinds of stuff, and he's but anyway, he was in Game of Thrones like the first season, or I don't know, whatever. He didn't have a
Drogo or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So I follow him on Instagram, and he has this thing. It's called Pride of Gypsies.
He has really interesting things to say, does he?
No, but he's nice to look at, and he goes to really interesting places, so that's kind of fun to follow, you know?
Yeah.
But I didn't watch it, but one of the things he did was he filmed himself in a hotel room with some friends watching the last episode of Game of Thrones.
Okay.
You know? Yeah.
The entire episode he filmed, or just?
I think so. I'm not sure because like I said, I didn't follow through with it. I just saw that he did that, and I didn't. But I thought that was kind of interesting, especially like, you know, if you're crazy about him, like a lot of people are, and being that he was in Game of Thrones, like to be that like accessible to the fans, you know, to like sit through this with him, you know, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, interesting idea.
Yeah, the internet's interesting like that now. I used to do this thing with a friend where we used to talk about it. He would come at it from a journalistic, critical perspective, but we kind of did that. We kind of filmed ourselves watching it, even though we kind of didn't as well. We kind of set it up for the important bits.
Right. That's fun.
Yeah, it was a bit of crack at the time. But it was, I found, say you're watching something from the journalist perspective in a way is looking for faults, not looking for faults, but it's not just taking it for entertainment. And if you notice things, you notice things. I think if you're a critic, you almost have to come in with that critical eye, and you have to make points. And I just remember it was almost ruining it for me. I didn't want to hear the negative things because it's thought, oh, it's entertainment. It's just
Absolutely.
escapism, you know.
It's kind of built in that way, you know, like it's like kind of going out to dinner with a chef, you know, like
Yeah, it's
like
implied almost. Yeah,
picking it apart, and it it's kind of fun sometimes, you know, like it gives you something to do rather than just eat, you know, like to really taste it and
yeah,
critique it, compliment it, whatever, you know, whatever it calls for from that personal palette, you know.
yeah,
But it's different, like listening to music with a musician, you know, like my husband's a drummer, and when he listens to songs, he starts to like just tap his feet and his hand, and it's kind of like he's listening to the drum beat. I'm listening to the song as a whole, and he's like tuning into like that one, you know what I mean? It's just kind of interesting, the different perspectives.
yeah. It was kind of that thing as well of well, somebody introduced me to whiskey. Probably not a good thing to develop a taste for, but over a period of time, I started to get good at tasting whiskey,
Yeah.
and I used to be able to differentiate between different types and the year almost. And then I kind of
Wow.
went, I'm drinking a lot of whiskey here. That was the reality of it too, and it
Right.
was I was kind of going, I don't know. And then somebody got me a present of, yeah, you know, Advent, the Advent calendar.
Yeah.
So you might get 30 days of chocolates, but this is 30
Whiskey.
days of whiskey sample.
Oh my
And
God.
I think around day 8, I was kind of going, am I going to just create a habit here? What happens on day 31? Am I going to have a whiskey on day 31? And I just thought, I'm not going doing this. I'm not having a whiskey every day for 30 days. It's not one of those
Oh,
things you can do.
but you live in Ireland, and that friend who gave you that you should keep him around, you know. That's a good.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
I used to drink a lot of whiskey, and you know, American whiskey fucking sucks. But we used to drink like Irish whiskey, like Jameson, and that's probably the bottom of the trash can in Ireland, isn't it? Like
yeah.
it's
It's
yeah. For
terrible
us,
whiskey. Yeah,
yeah, for us it's like, oh, first Jameson, yay, or Bushmills, or Tullamadu, that kind of stuff. But seriously, since the the switch to tequila, and it wasn't a conscious thing, it just went there. I mean, we used to drink a lot of whiskey, but the
yeah,
hangovers were like death, and um, somehow naturally, and it's kind of interesting. We live in the desert, which is where tequila comes from, you know, to just be so connected to that alcohol and that and having it feel so good, like so pure, and waking up like after a night of drinking a lot of it, and you know, we don't drink the Jose Cuervo stuff, but like just waking up clear and like you didn't, you know, wreck your body the night before. So
yeah,
I haven't touched whiskey in a long time, you know.
yeah. Whiskey's a kind of a dangerous thing. Something about it that when you have it, it's just almost when you have the one, it's almost, and you finished it, it's almost,
Oh
okay, you need to, or there's a big draw for another one just at the very end.
oh yeah.
Kind of
I,
hits you, the effect of it. And then, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. It's the same with tequila. It's like there's no just one, you know. I always say like the first shot of the day is like, oh, this is it, you know, like this, it's the best. And then after that it's just like it just adds
Yeah.
up, you know? And
You could
sometimes
probably stop with that first little kick. You
you
could probably just
probably,
go,
yeah,
that's lovely. I've had enough. If you were that way
no,
inclined,
yeah,
just not. As I
That's
saw at your talk in the bar, you had this
yes.
margarita, but there was jalapenos in the margarita. And I
Oh
was
well,
going, I've never seen that before now.
this is this cute little place we have in town here. And they have this margarita called Margarita Mitchell. I don't
Yeah.
know why, but it's got cilantro and jalapenos in it, and
Okay.
it's so tasty.
Mm,
Um,
mm, mm.
and I like well, it's not spicy, and unless you
Okay.
eat the jalapenos, and they're for me they're not even that spicy, but yeah, that's a real enjoyable drink. That's the only place I'll order margarita because I'm used to drinking good tequila straight up. Anytime I order
Straight.
oh yeah, just
Oh,
straight
wow.
up, sip the shots, because it's good stuff.
Yeah.
But at any restaurant, margaritas, it's just sugared down with that crappy margarita mix or whatever the hell they put in it, and it's
Mm,
just like drinking like soda with a tiny splash of bad tequila in it. So I just never order them in the
yeah.
world. I just drink straight up. But that one place has that really nice one.
It looked
It's
really good. And the salt
it,
around the rim and all that stuff. Mm. I wasn't listening to anything else, just the tequila.
when I
Just
came
going,
home.
that looks really, really good.
I came home that night, just and I just checked it, got to the deck where I'm sitting right now, and had some tequila, and I said, let me just take a peek at what this even looked like. And I thought, like, I also wasn't even listening to what was being said. I was just like, man, that view, like the blue sky behind me, the tree, the bright sunlight, and that
Yeah.
drink. I'm like, God, that's
I want to
glorious.
go back there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally.
And
Yeah,
how
it's
was that? How was the meeting? How did you enjoy it?
I did. It was whatever. I enjoyed it, but I didn't. I'm not gonna do any more meetups like this. I mean, I don't think I am because I signed up for a month. It's like $15 now. It used to be free anyway.
Yeah.
I got this together, and two of those two guys showed up, but it didn't feel like, I don't know. It didn't feel as free flowing and I don't know, as this does, for example, or as like talking to other people about it. Maybe because there might have been an expectation, or I had the illusion that there was an expectation, and then but whatever. It's just what happened, and when I watched it back, like there was stuff that was said that again I don't remember saying it, and it's like, well, it's just what came out, and some stuff was like, oh, that was really good, and like I think I said that to you in the email, like towards the end. I made the mistake of asking, oh, there's a hummingbird here, of asking one of the guys, like, so what brought you to this.
Yeah.
um and that just opened the door. Like, I mean, if you give the people an invitation to talk about themselves, they're just gonna fucking run with it. Myself included. It's like people love to talk about themselves. And
Yeah.
and I just felt like if it had just I did have kind of a expectation. I just wanted to post another video, and I don't really do well like just talking to the camera myself. I just don't enjoy that.
Yeah.
So that gave a dynamic and an interaction. So I had that in my head. Like if it just been like talking whatever, it might have been a little more free flowing. But I felt like I didn't want to give people the chance to take it off into like talking about themselves. Like let's just stick to the non-subject subject. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I totally could see that because I was curious about that, and then I watched it to the end, and it was obviously the conversation about love, and it was,
Mm,
it was that story in a way. I mean, it is apparently like I've heard, I can see in a way why the non or the personal story is not really entertained, and really the most you get, I hear, is somebody will say blah 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 their story, and the response is, well, that's what's happening there.
Yeah.
And it's just not fed at all. It's interesting how, I suppose I can see why you would say what you're saying there, because it'll just totally go down the personal story route. And that's fine, but that is what would happen. It's impossible for it not.
And that's what's happening, you know.
Yeah.
One of the interesting switches that has appeared to happen is that there's the real acknowledgement or seeing that there's nobody doing anything anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just what's happening. These are just words that are coming out there. It's a relief to know that there's nobody doing it. It's just, there's no controlling it. There's no, it's going to go how it goes, because it's just what's happening. The same with you, with anything, with the birds, with the weather, with, you know, it's just everything doing what it does. So my point in expressing this right now is that I've realized that a lot of you can't get it right, you can't get it wrong, because it's all it. So you can't escape it. So a lot of speakers tend to talk about the individual as it is a separate thing. The individual always objectifies things. The individual always needs something to feed it, whatever. And what I'm realizing is that the individual is not separate from anything. It's just that appearing as an individual. So there is no choice in it. It's not like I think I'm a separate person, so therefore this is what I do, or this is how I behave. And some of these talks make it sound like the individual is doing this. And I would sometimes like want to like say, but the individual is it's that appearing as an individual. There's no separation. There's no choice in what the individual is doing. It's just what's appearing. But then I realized that whatever that speaker is saying about the individual is also just what's appearing, you know. There's nobody doing it. It's just, and the funny thing about this conversations that appear about this is that it is that speaking about it, right? Because when it's appearing as, and I always tend to use religion because it's such a huge contrast, you know, when it's appearing as the holy hope, you know, talking about God and Jesus or whatever, it's also that appearing as that, but that's in that not knowing that, you know, it's hard to talk about it, that just being that. It doesn't mean that it doesn't know the truth of it, because there is no truth of it. There is no untruth of it. It's just that. So there's no, I just recently like had these moments of like complete, like just awe of like, there is nothing outside of it. There's nothing that isn't it. There's nothing right. There's nothing wrong. It can be expressed as in the right talk of non-duality, or the wrong talk of non-duality, or there is no such thing as non-duality, or as the wars in the Middle East, or as the, you know, the anything and everything. And for me, this character in this whole game is like, what is it? And the fact that it is already just mind-blowing. That the fact that this is here, that we're here, that something, the oneness is being Frank there, Giselle here, and these words are coming out, and we're talking about the oneness. But the oneness can be anything that's talked about or done, you know, or not done, or thoughts, imagination, fear, emotion, everything.
Yeah, everything is included. I had the sense of that the other day there, of the everything, and that there may be something. If how can there be something beyond the everything when there's just everything? So that has to include that, and everything is possible within that. And then
Yeah.
yeah, then the nothing happening. Then I was kind of going, yeah. Then I was struggling with that idea of nothing when there's everything, the nothing and everything.
Yeah. Those are thoughts that came up here as well. Like, um, the fact that it's being said that this is nothing appearing as everything.
Yeah,
Like, no, how do we know it's nothing? Like, what does that even mean? But then realizing that those words are the isness saying that about itself.
yeah,
It's not, and at least I do, I tend when I listen to speakers and whatever, that they know something, or they're coming from this place of knowing, or this place of knowing about that there is unknowing. So whatever words are coming out of there is kind of like, it's unknown, but it's like to say that it's nothing appearing as everything, that appears to be a statement that they know. Like, they know that nothing is appearing as everything. They know that it is empty fullness, right?
yes.
You know that you can't know fucking anything, but then realizing that
That's just
those
emptiness talking. Okay.
exactly, or
Yeah.
it's
And it just
everything
happens to
talking.
appear like a description that means something, but it means absolutely nothing.
Absolutely.
Because
And that,
you kind of go, oh, well, what's emptiness like? Or what's that like? But that's just
and
emptiness asking a question and emptiness responding. But it has no
yes,
significance.
or the
Then, yeah.
everything asking the question and the everything responding, talking about nothing. it it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything, and it's not true or untrue, you know. It's, or you can say it's all true, you can say it's all untrue, so therefore it negates itself. And what I'm saying now, like, there's the realization that these are just, I'm not thinking this stuff and saying it, there's just what's coming out.
It's
And
just
then
thinking and talking, yeah.
and then the step on top of that, that there's a realization of this is just stuff is coming out, is also nothingness being a realization about stuff that's just coming out of nothing. It's just like, wow, I don't know, it's just so wow. All of this.
Yeah, you see, it is kind of the total freedom then, really, and because when there isn't a negotiator trying to negotiate all these things, then nothing means anything, and there's such relief in all the words coming out. And maybe there is, oh, should I have said that? Should I have said that? But that's just happening also, and doesn't have any
Exactly.
kind of fuel because there isn't somebody there trying to push that away or keep that in or hold on to that thought of, well, I
But
need to do it better or say it better.
even if there is somebody there, even if there is a negotiator, that's the same thing being that. That's just, there is no difference in it.
Yeah,
So
that's still happening.
there's no like escaping it at all. It's all just this one being, all being everything, you know. And somebody said, how do you know that everything is one? How do you know that there's no separation? Because in the appearances, there's,
Sorry, I've lost you there for a second.
oh,
Did you do
you
something?
got
Or
me.
is that on my side? That's coming through there.
uh can you hear me?
No, you're not. Your default speaker. Have I changed something? Wait now. Oh, just one
I
second. I wonder if my earphone's gone. Sorry.
That's okay. I hope it's you, because I don't know what to do. Can you hear me? No?
You can hear me though. I think it's I can't hear you because of these, that the battery has died in these wonderful. I'm going to have to go. Give me 2 minutes. I'm going to get other earphones. I think these are just dead. Fucking technology with just
Oh,
two
I
ear.
lost you. I lost
What?
you.
You haven't.
I don't hear you.
You don't hear me.
Now I hear you. Now I hear you.
Okay.
You hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. I mean, we said stunning stuff there. I mean, and
I
it's
know.
lost forever. That absolute gold just happens. That would have been the key, really,
I know,
to
right?
enlightenment for everyone.
That's how it goes. It's all about
Nearly.
that.
I don't know what I think it just all happened as a result of those earphones. I'm just going to go old school. The battery just went, I think, and then.
So you just put in new batteries?
No, these are now wired ones, which I've
Okay.
always used in the past, but just this big long cable that I need to
Good thing.
unravel.
Good thing you didn't ditch those.
No, my son Jack has them.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't quite give them to him, but so
Yeah,
when I went and took them there, he was cool.
that's how it works. You're
Yeah.
like, yeah, sure, you can use it, and then you never really have access to them again unless it's like, I need it right now. It's mine.
I never gave them to you. Yeah, you stole them.
Right.
Um,
Hey, I just saw this video. I think it was yesterday that you made. I loved it. I literally LOL'd of you interviewing yourself.
oh.
That
Uh,
was great. You're like,
yeah,
just relax, just calm down. You're like,
yeah,
you
on
calm
my
down.
channel. Yeah, yeah. I was delighted with the fact that I was able to figure out the editing of it, but I actually found it a little bit nauseating to watch two of me talking. It was just, like I actually could feel myself going, oh, even going through the editing process, it was too much of me. I probably
Because that makes it three of you. You know, that's like there's the two of you and the third one who's editing and watching it. You're like, no,
it's
too
too
much,
no,
Frank.
it's too much. It's too much. Like it literally is too much. I should have just kept it to 2 minutes, but yeah, it's a bit of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
It's
Yeah.
actually funny. Somebody sent me a message and they said you've only ever interviewed yourself.
Right.
Kind of interesting though. That.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. What do you think of that idea of you're only ever talking to yourself, or that feeling or that sense? What does it mean to you? Does it mean anything?
Well, not really. I mean, it's kind of like a story because, but yes, in the sense that it's all one, just speaking these words, you know. So it's the oneness speaking to itself, to through appearing as other people, you know, as appearing as these characters that are speaking. But so from that perspective, that it's just oneness saying whatever it's saying and oneness responding there. But I don't see it as myself speaking to myself.
Yes, it's not personal.
Right.
But
And
there's a
that's the
familiarity about it too, though, or is there? That's a kind of a question. Is there a familiarity about? There isn't a sense of, well, that person's a stranger, and I know that person well, or this person is this way, or whatever. Or is it just seen as roles?
yeah, yeah. Um, you know, what is can't be avoided, you know?
Hmm.
And if you're talking to, you know, somebody you've been married to for 24 years, there's not a sense of this is just me speaking to myself, or this is just uh it's obvious that's what it is. There's the characters, there's the roles, there's the appearance of in the moment of a history or of the relationship. But what has happened now is that it is experienced or seen that it just is that appearing. It is just the oneness, the mystery, the unknowable appearing in that moment as that relationship. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't feel like I
Yeah.
don't I'm not here and you're not there and this is just what's happening and there's nothing that's part of it. The story's there, but there's it's seeing that it's the story and it's not true at the same time. Like it's
I,
not. Go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say, can I ask you then, just say in terms of your husband, say in relationships there can be of, can they change and be, they're always like this, can they change and be something else? Have you noticed that and there can be an almost a dumping of, well, this is how this person is, and they're would you notice that sort of sense has kind of changed, that the same baggage is not carried around with this person is like this and this person, that maybe there's a bit more of a newness to what they're saying, there isn't the weight and
Absolutely.
heaviness from both?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it is also seeing that because what's appeared in this story, it's not that it's right or wrong or true or not, is that the expansion and the tension or the baggage has pretty much dissipated. So, you know, in the apparent past, it's been seen like, oh, that means he's getting it too. And, you know, he's free flowing with this, you know, the same way. And that's why, you know, things just flow without tensions or drama, so to speak. But now it is seen that's not true. It's just what's appearing. And it's just, there's nobody here that has become something or unbecome something that has
Mm.
changed the whole story with others in it and stuff like that. That's not even true. Although thoughts of that can appear, you know, it's just now it's all seen and then there's just thoughts of that appearing. But now, for the most part, it's just like it's just the isness, the oneness appearing as that person, saying that, or this person doing that. There's no agent anywhere that is controlling it, that has an agenda with it, that has
Yeah.
a goal with it or a purpose with it.
To
It's
try and
just,
change it, like, or fix it. Yeah, you see, that's kind of what I'm not trying to get anywhere with this now by having this, but what I'm kind of just curious about, I suppose, see, from one perspective, it can be seen as uh, uncaring, uh, but on another perspective, it can be seen as allow, or not even allowing, but just the allow. Well, maybe the not same fighting with what's happening, you know, with what is, and so therefore, say in relationships, there's no more trying to relate or fix or change, or I don't know.
yeah.
I'm only just teasing that through
No,
with you. I'm
I
curious.
agree. I agree in the sense that that's appears to be happening,
Yeah.
uh, you know. But at the same time, it's also seeing that if there is whatever comes up is it, and there's nobody controlling it, you know.
Yeah.
And if all of a sudden, like, you know, there's all this free flow and smooth sailing, all of a sudden, like, somebody appears to be like causing a huge ordeal about whatever, then it's seen that that's just what's happening. It's not like, oh, they stopped seeing that they were you know, they started to think they're a certain person now that is controlling stuff, and you know, they've lost the freedom, or it's just seen like, well, that's just what's appearing and nobody's doing it. It's just what's coming out, and however this person reacts,
Is
it's just what's, there's nobody controlling it, or,
yeah.
and
Okay.
that is what it is everywhere. And if it appears that somebody's saying, well, how do you know that, you know, how do you know you have no free will and choice, how can you prove it, then it's just that it's not right or wrong, there's no escaping it, it's just that appearing as that, you know. And it's not like, oh, this person gets it and their life is easier or better and this person doesn't,
Yeah.
and they're questioning and arguing and whatever. There, it's just like, that's that's the oneness doing that. And so there's no, an argument or a discourse might occur because of it, or it might not. Who knows? And it doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong about it. There's no way it should go or shouldn't go. It's just like, bam. I mean, there's a sense of absolute freedom, but there's also a sense of just being like completely like, I don't know how to say it, like a puppet, you know, like, and I mean, there's absolute freedom because anything can happen, and it's just arising as it rises, and it could go anywhere, and it's fresh and new and unknown and miraculous. But at the same time, it's the person who feels stuck and depressed and trying, you know, all kinds of things to escape it. It's also that. So there's this, it's just everything, and it's also like you can't control it. So there's also a sense of like freedom and not freedom, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because it's such a mind fuck. It's like there is nothing anywhere that is being and doing everything. So yeah, it's free to be whatever, but it's also doing what it's doing. So I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying really.
Yeah, well, you see, I think that's what the freedom is, though, that the not knowing, and it's this, it's coming out, and I'm not, and then it sounds like I'm objectifying the coming out, but it's not really. I just totally recognize the flavor of what you're saying, as opposed to the no, the not. I can get that essence. I know what you're talking about by how you describe it. It is that kind of anything is possible and anything could be said, but it's not anybody's. That freedom is not owned by anybody, because that's gone. That
It's
which
gone.
could own it or contain it or know it or live it or have it is just gone. It's just somehow gone. But then maybe it was never there. Or was it ever
Yeah,
there? But then you see, would you say that it was ever there? You wouldn't really.
the saying that it was never there because it's seeing that it was never there, it's also that saying that. So you can't escape it. It's not, you know what I mean? It's like you can't escape what's happening. And if it's coming out that saying, when it's recognized that it was never there. But it's just that saying that. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't matter. But
Yeah,
it,
no, I'm sure nothing matters, but it is kind of, in a
but
way, the person, I'm kind of constantly, in a way, what you could say that this is in a free flow conversation, and from time to time, I'm just trying to lay down an anchor to hold. Can we just hold on to here so we can be fixed in time and space and have something that we can own and know? And whereas life is, I heard somebody saying, verbing, life is happening, and then there
yeah.
is a sense of a person trying to have a fixed place in time or something. But
That's
that's not even,
just,
that's bullshit too, like, so.
no, it's not. That's just that happens. But that's the same free falling, like, you know, what the hell is this? And I need an anchor, you know, morphing into the expression of an anchor. And then the conversation might go in a certain way because we're like anchoring into time and space. And then it goes that way. And then the person might feel that it gets a little bit of grasp of the ungraspable, but that's still the same unknowingness, boundlessness, everythingness appearing as that.
Yeah.
So it's not like you got anywhere and you actually are grasping something, but or it is, it appears as that, and then that happens, and that's it. You know, it's not like we figured something out, or we're weeding out what it not isn't, or you know, how to kind of be able to contain it, at least for conversation's sake.
Yeah.
It's just what's happening. And if it appears that way, and you know, I started to have this kind of reaction to reading comments on my videos and stuff, And some comments stirred a little like energy inside, and like I had to respond or like not respond. And then just realizing that that's just what's appearing, and it's not a separate person doing that, but I was experiencing it as a separate person and responding as a separate person. Now, for whatever reason, um, it's just come into this place of seeing it as the isness expressing that. It's not right or wrong. I might respond with the isness, you know, agreeing or not agreeing or making a joke of it, whatever. And there's no controlling it. There's no feeling good or bad about it anymore. It's just what's appearing. But recognizing that the other stuff, if it was feeling good or bad about it, or oh, I said that wrong, or that person interpreted it wrong, that's just the same thing as this, you know, appearing as that.
Yeah.
And I think it was in one of your talks that the way it was expressed about the like two things that were said in that just was like wow, was the aloneness of this, because like it's everything in one being, all this, and seeing that doesn't mean it's any truer than, for example, those who don't see it and who believe in God created the world and it's all, you know, God's plan and blah blah blah, because that's also it. But when it's seen from that perspective, seeing that it's also that, you know, it that it's everything, and it's all that oneness being everything, there is a sense of, well, you're not, there's nothing else, so there is this like one giant ball of alone or of everything. And feelings of like sadness, but also like complete awe and just like unknowing also arise with that. And the other thing in that talk that was said was that seeing this, not right or wrong, not true or untrue, but there is this complete surrender and free fall where you lose everything. You lose your past, but at the same time you don't, because there's still people in your life that are from, you know, the past, and those relationships still continue, and the stories that bind them are still there, but there's a knowing that they're just what's appearing now. There's no truth to it. There's no like build up or purpose, you know, that has led to this moment. It's just what's appearing. But the no future part, that's also pretty amazing, that there is no future. And for this character here has brought a lot of relief, because there's no more fears about, you know, retirement and you know, losing teeth and all that. Like it's just knowing that there it's just, you know, this arising, and there's nobody controlling it. There's nothing you can do to be have a better future, or to do it right, or to fuck it up, you know. It's just complete, like there's just nothing, nobody doing anything, just what's going on, you know.
Yeah,
And
I
then
like that. Yeah.
conversation is like, I just saw my brother in Texas, and he's, you know, he's like, you know, you have to work, you have to build your retirement, you have to there's no such thing as fate and all that, and recognizing that that's also it, you know, um appearing as that, and no, knowing that that exists in the world, like that's the predominant state of the isness, how it is appearing, you know, with these stories and a lot of these cover. And I don't sit there and say like there's not even a you that's doing anything, you know. We'll sit there and talk about his retirement plan or whatever, you know. It's nobody controlling it, just what's arising. And I tend to see or to experience that most of the time the conversation just goes how it goes. There might be thoughts in the head, which are also just thoughts, nobody's having them, that say, oh God, I wish I could say this right now, and just like get into a huge fight about reality and fate and whatever, But those happens in thoughts. Most of the time they don't actually come out in the conversation, and it doesn't matter either way. But I find it all pretty amusing, actually.
But you get the sense of, oh yes, that's how it's playing out there.
Yeah.
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 And there's no reason to want to change that, or because that's how it is there.
Yeah.
How would it be changed? Why would
Yeah.
there be a need to want to change it?
And one of the, I don't know, the stories that is going on here is, I was in the past, like, we talked about a little bit before, into the shaman stuff and the healing um, and learning all this stuff and having these experiences. I go to my family and like my in-laws, like my mother-in-law has a lot of like bizarre physical things that happen to her. Like she goes to see tons of doctors and they don't know what it is and da da da. I mean, this has been like a story in her life. So I'm like, I'm the healer now, and I can fix this for you, and da 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 da, and like, let me do a session on you about all these things, and sometimes it wasn't received, like they were stuck in their ways, and I would be like, God, why are you so stubborn? If you just open the door to this, you could be fixed. And so what's happened when the shift, whatever you want to call it, into seeing this, there's, and it's not that it's me doing it, it just doesn't appear anymore, the need to do or say anything other than what is being said. You know what I mean? So she's still in that story, to use her as an example. I never once say like, have you tried this, or you should do this, or have you ever thought about there is no you, actually? Like that
Yeah.
might help God. It's just because I know it is the same thing appearing as that. So what is there to say or do except whatever comes out? But like, terminology, there's no agenda. There's no desire for anything to be any other way than it is.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's stories like I'm stuck in this completely mundane, blow your head off, boring job, and there's and I just know that that's just what's happening. And then I talked with my friends, like, there's desires to, but there's not now. That's the difference. Before it was like, okay, we got to do this. Now it's just what's appearing. We're having a conversation about moving to Mexico and opening a mezcal tequila bar on the beach. Like, God, that sounds like where my life should go right now. But
Yeah.
it's just, there's no more like, all right, let's start planning that and da da da. And if that starts to happen, then it's just what starts to happen. But before there used to be like, I'm wasting my time. I'm young. I should still be able to enjoy my job and not be bored out of my gourd. And now it's like, that's just what's happening.
Mm.
And it'll change or not change. Who knows? It's just what's happening. And I think in some way in the story, like recognizing this has literally saved my life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. But what you described there, that's the kind of removal of time and space. It is the other day, whenever it was, I had that the this the words "this is it." It's kind of
Yeah.
whatever way I heard it, it was kind of amazing that the reminder of "this is it," the not going anywhere, the timelessness of this is it, and yet obviously stories reboot immediately, and time becomes everything, and purpose and movement through space and whatever, and world and Arizona and Dublin and all of those things reboot suddenly back to life. But even in that, this is it though. It's an absolutely stunningly beautiful thing to say. you
Yeah.
know in a way, because it's not, it actually doesn't fucking mean anything either. But whatever way I heard it, I thought, wow, it's such a selfless sort of, and not even selfless in the selfish. No, it's just this is it, and it's a beautiful reminder in a
It
way.
is, and you know, you said it doesn't mean anything, but at the same, on the flip side of that, it means everything. Like it's everything. This is it. There's nothing outside of this. You know, I've been talking with my friend because we did this fasting thing together, and she, you know, like the way the mind starts to go nuts when it's deprived of food and that kind of thing. And it's like, oh, that I'm not going to do this anymore. I feel like because I was doing that, it's led me to this and everything. And I remember in the past, I used to like engage it and like get into this conversation about like, yeah, maybe you should stop doing that and do a little more of this. And now it's just like, that's what's happening there. And I'll
Yeah.
I send her that text, and I feel like she's going to say, fuck you, you know, like, but what comes back is, you're right, you know.
Yeah.
And again, like that stuff, like if I respond to that in this way, even though nobody's controlling the response, you're going to get that response back because that's how that person functions. And then realizing that there's nobody there controlling it either, and then saying that and getting a response that surprises you, that is totally like out of character, for example, you know. And it's just like, that's just the isness expressing itself that way, you know.
But
And there's
also
no
it can be heard in this. Some people would hear it as that's what's happening, and it's kind of, oh, you don't care,
right.
or it's totally hearing what's
Yes.
been said and no attempt, still not trying to fix it or change it, but
Yeah.
still totally hearing what's been said.
Yeah.
It is amazing the
And
difference.
either way, it's the same thing doing whatever it's doing, right? There's
Yeah.
no there's no longer like, oh, I got through because look at the response I got. It's just like, oh, that's just isness appearing as that, you know, through
Yeah.
that person, as that person or whatever.
Mm.
It's just like, it's infinite, you know, it's just infinite. And
But utterly wild and and
yeah,
uncontrollable. Can't be contained by, what's the words, non-duality. It's really non-duality, non-duality, blah blah blah. Because try and contain it, you can call it. Somebody else said it in everything, but even trying to contain anything in a box or words is objectifying it. Is wonderfully, brilliantly ludicrous in a way. But then it's like you're going to say that's it
that's
too.
it too.
Yeah. You can't. That's annoying, but it's true.
It is.
But that's it too. That's it fucking too. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. It just I did, after I did that second video, I just got so fed up with like all of it. And then I realized that getting fed up, I think I wrote something about like, I wish we were talking about, you know, fixing a car or baking a cake, because this is like, you do this, you do that, you don't do that, and you get a fixed car or you get a chocolate cake, you know. And I'm like, but then, you know, realizing that the uh, the frustration and the annoyance and fed upness of talking about isness and this is also the same thing that is making a chocolate cake or talking about that, or you know what I mean. So there's like no escaping it. And then the next phase in the apparent timeline was like going from total fed upness to like total surrender of just like the awe that it is, that it's even here as whatever it is, as whatever it's appearing, as frustration and trying to say the right words to talk about non-duality, or as getting your hands all greasy and fixing an old engine, you know. All of that, the trees, the iPad, you know, it's like, it's all there. Like, what the hell, you know.
Mm.
And not there, but we don't know it's not there because it's there, you know. But anyway,
The not there, that's the not realness kind of sense
I
of
get
it.
that.
None of this is real. Is this when the not, do you know, what did I, you know what I said there? What did I ask you there? The not really, I can't remember. You know, the nothing. It's kind of the, is it the none of this is real, really?
Yeah,
Or the real and unreal, maybe, yeah.
I think the only way that for me that means anything, which means is because like it's not real. Well, there's a sense of transparency or of like space in that only because otherwise it's like, what do you mean this isn't real? Yeah, so even if it's not real, it's real. Like, look, that
Hmm.
hurts, you know. Well, it doesn't really, but if it was harder, it hurt, you know. But so it's okay, but it's not real. It's yeah, my heart's broken. Well, it's not real. Yeah, fuck that. My heart hurts, you know, like whatever. But
Yeah,
for me, the kind of understanding, or I don't even know what the word to use is to look at the dreams that we have in this apparent reality. You know, you have dreams, and in your dreams you feel emotions, you feel physical pain even, and it's all real in the dream. Then you wake up and it's gone, like it's nowhere. And I think that's a good metaphor for what this is. But it still doesn't change or take away from the fact that when you're in the dream, it's real. And saying to somebody who's having a dream, you know, it's not real. It's like, yeah, okay, maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong, but whatever. My head hurts and my heart's broken, or I'm a millionaire, whatever. I mean, that appears real, whether it's real or not.
hmm.
But I guess in this, to use that as a metaphor, that I feel it's the same thing as this. You know, we call it the waking dream or something. Um, the fact that it's not real is, or the unfact that it's not real, for some it might mean something. It might, you know, and for some others it's like, so what, you know. And in the
Yeah,
end, it's all the same thing. So I don't know.
yeah.
I mean, I find a certain peace in knowing that, for whatever that's worth or not worth.
Certain peace in what?
In knowing that it's a dream, or kind of having a a hint that it's a dream, because you can't know anything, right?
Yeah,
You really can't know anything. That's the whole thing of this. Even the yeah, but there's a certain peace in that, but the bigger piece that is more tangible, for lack of a better word, other than this is not real, it's a dream or whatever, because that really doesn't change what's happening, is the knowing that there is no one doing anything, um, that there is no doer, it's just what's happening. That there's a peace in that, and knowing that anything can happen, and being, you know, in the freedom of that, and then the unknowing of that, you know. Because there's like, there's apparent stories, you know, that this led to that. So it can feel like you have to make the right choices, or you have to be responsible because look, it all leads to that. And that's just that isness appearing as that, if that's what's going on. But what is seen here is that there's nobody doing anything, and it's just what's arising in every moment, that's coming out of nowhere and going back into nowhere. It's just like it's just a miracle, really. And then to appreciate how that expresses itself in an apparent story, that is beautiful, I think, you know. Like, we had this story, like when we went, it's a long story, but I'll just use it as an example. we just visiting my brother in Texas. We found this puppy without a collar. Uh, we made the rash decision to take it back with us because it was a Sunday night and all of us were flying out Monday. So anyway, we took this puppy home and we brought it home. And then about a week later or 5 days later, my brother's back in town. He sees signs for this puppy. So the owners ended up driving from Kerrville, Texas to Cottonwood, Arizona to pick up their dog. That's a 16-hour drive. They just came and picked up the dog and, you know, took it back, and that was the end of the story. So that is, and there's a lot of funny things that happened between then, but anyway, that appears to, that led to that, to that led to that, to that led to that, and then the end of the story is, wow, you know, their puppy's back in Texas. How it was experienced here was like, there is no cause and effect. There is no story that's developing or going anywhere. It's just this moment appearing as this moment appearing as that, this moment as these two, you know, probably kind of angry people at our door picking up their dog, you know, just appearing there, and whatever is said, however it's done, you know, we had to make the decision. Do we want to give this puppy back? Because when my brother saw the signs, he's like, you know, and then there was all discussions about moral, like if it was your dog, you know, they, you know, well, why didn't they put a freaking collar on it, you know, and da da da. So there was this piece knowing that it's going to go however it goes. There's nobody here making a right or wrong decision. Now the decision was, let's call these people, let them know their dog is safe. Good news is your dog is safe. Bad news, it's in Arizona. You know, what the fuck? How in the hell? But there was this kind of interesting shift in how it was experienced here. Not that it's better or worse, right or wrong. That was just like, nobody's making any decision. This is just what's appearing. And it's not really even a story. It's just moments. But the appearance of the story and people, you know, expressing and doing as they do was so appreciated, you know. There's no like, I hope they say this and I hope they do that, and I don't want to give the puppy back, you know, and I do want to give the puppy back. It's just like whatever's arising, you know, and it just goes how it goes, and it goes nowhere. Yeah.
In a way, it's so far beyond. I mean, thoughts are included, but it has nothing to do with thoughts and never get their head around um, that what you expressed there, the disconnection. In a way, everything is connected. You know, this leads to that, and that they came here and all that, and everything has a beginning, a middle, and nice resolution. For them going home in the car, and that can be understandable and unknown, and has, you know, but in it can't ever be understood, the timelessness thing, the disconnect of everything, the just appearing that this is it.
But that is no different at all. The people in the car, like, saying that is no different than what's being expressed here.
Yeah.
And that's the no escaping of it. It's not like you're talking about how it really is, because you're not. That's because how it's happening there is how it really is. I mean, I think the only thing that can be said about it, and that is, and even that can't really be said about it, because for those people who think they're really a person in the body making choices, cause and effect, free will, all that, that's what it is.
Yeah.
From this perspective, it's seen that there's nobody anywhere doing anything, and that's what it is. But it all is it, so there's no difference there than here. It's like we talk about the timelessness and the freedom and all that, and that is it too. But it's also the controlling and the, like, you know, the planning and the thinking that it has to, you
You've gone on pause on me there. Can you hear me? I'm just going to send you a message. You there? Nobody's there. You should see a little thing there, which
where?
And I don't know what the iPad, but you should
see what the angle is like, and it was black. I'm like, oh my god!
I saw that. Yeah, it is annoying. Like it is annoying. You know, just those stupid things.
Absolutely, but then it is also like there's just complete surrender. Like there's nobody controlling any of it, and you know, quite honestly, that's one of those freedom realizations that I had. And I know we spoke briefly about this on our last talk about when I did the ayahuasca, because that's such a like overwhelmed freaking tornado, hurricane, tsunami in your head on that shit about, you know, and your body as well, and just like, oh god, that's brilliant, and just like things fleeting in and just like consuming your whole being intensely for like, I don't know, maybe a minute part of a second that feels like an eternity, and like I need that to hold on to that, and gone, you know. And then the same stuff that makes you want to throw up, consuming your whole being, and then gone, and you're like, thank god that's gone. And then the next thing, and so that was the realization that it doesn't matter, it's everything and it's nothing, it doesn't matter. Like, so when the moments like this happen, like, oh, that would have been the moment. What do they call that in sorry to go there. No, I'm not sorry to go there. In porno, what do they call it? The cum shot? Not the cum shot. The money shot. The money shot.
The cum shot.
That was a bit.
That's what you said. Yeah.
That's a bit too literal.
That there was the cum shot. That's. I'm going to use that for the preview for this. Yeah, I am actually going to use that for the yeah, but you have to sign up to Patreon to see all the foreplay. Yeah.
To get the shot.
Yeah. Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like what I said to you on the email, like those are great teasers for the lap dance, so people pay for the lap dance.
Yeah.
Your previews, they're great. You know, that the last one you did with Kenneth, the scenery was just majestical, man. That is so beautiful.
Yeah, it was really brilliant podcast, that one, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I was going to talk to you. I might turn it off and I'd talk to you just about this other thing, which I was going to have to tell you in the email.
Yeah, so, sure.
So I just press the stop record. It's not anything, but I'm just going to talk to you about it anyway. Thank you. That's the pretend. That's the pretend it being over. Okay.
I just want to say thank you to all my fans for supporting me.
Yeah.
I couldn't be here without you.
No, and I'm sure they know that, and they're really grateful too.
And thank you, Frank, for facilitating this. I mean, I couldn't do it without you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Giselle. It's been spectacular. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. That was amazing. Okay. Hi, if you like the conversation that I just had and you'd like more, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you. Frank, come on, man.